brain. Welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk. Come be at peace with me. Ask the Paul, where we rise and don't fall.
Welcome back to another episode of Baxter's Buzz. I am your host, Baxter E. Hall. Welcome to my brain. Welcome to my frequency. Enter at your own risk. Today, I have a special guest with me. He is the owner and principal therapist at Renewed Counseling. He's also the host of Everything Renewed podcast. He's a good friend and an old friend of mine, Wesley Morgan. Wesley, welcome to Baxter's Buzz, bro.
Man, thank you for the invite. I'm excited to be here, excited for the conversation, man.
It's been a long time coming. First of all, I just want to say thank you for allowing me to be on your podcast recently, the Everything Renewed podcast. I had a really good time. You and I are ones that don't talk a terrible amount, but we do talk way more than we used to. And it's always positive. I always leave it feeling like better than I left it. So I appreciate that. And can't say that about everybody. So thank you.
No doubt, man. You know, the brotherhood is real.
Yeah. So Everything Renewed Counseling. Talk about how long you've been a therapist there, sort of what gave you the idea to kind of step out on your own and how that whole thing is going. I know you've been working like crazy.
Man, that's a good question. Renewed Counseling started, to be honest, it started in my second class. And working on my master's, I was sitting in class and literally I was listening to the professor and I just wrote down the professor was talking and I just took a pen and I wrote Renewed Counseling Services. And I didn't even know what it meant. I just wrote it down on a piece of paper on the worksheet. And I was like, okay. Even at the time, I'm not even afraid to say this. I didn't even know what private practice was. I was in my second class, in my counseling class. I just wrote Renewed Counseling on the corner and I just left it there. Never knew what it was going to be. And then, of course, going through the program, by the time I want to say middle of the program, towards the end a little bit, I started learning more about, options and stuff. I can work in the agency, I can work in private practice. And then I was studying one day and went back to a folder that I thought some information was in. And I came across my notes and right there in the top left-hand corner, Renewed Counseling. And I was like, man, that's hot. I'm supposed to be, possibly opening up my own practice. And from there, that's the start of it.
Wow. So do you know where the name came from? It nothing just kind of came to you?
No, it comes from Romans 12, 1 and 2 in the Bible. I beseech thee, brother, by the mercies of God, that you all that good stuff. Romans 12, 1 and 2, right? And it talks about your mind being transformed by the renewing of your mind. And when you think about counseling, I often tell people I help facilitate the change that you desire to see. And so with that being said, your mind has to be renewed in so many different places. So I focus on those three things, like renewing your mind, like revealing certain information to you, and also being restored. So that's the foundational piece of Renewed Counseling.
Reveal,
renew, restored. Reveal, renew, and restore.
I love that. And so that kind of speaks to your faith and also the work that you do at church. Were you preaching before you were counseling, or like when did you start to just see these callings kind of right in front of your face?
Man, to be honest, I don't know. People be acting like they knew. I really don't know. It's some of the stuff I just kind of fell into. But really the counseling aspect started back when in junior high school. I was invited to an all summer program for to be a junior counselor. So when my peers would get in trouble, and we got in trouble every single day, somebody was fighting or somebody get kicked out of class, and so I will get called out of class in junior high school, and I will work with the school counselor to counsel my peers. So it really wasn't into college, man. I hit a real all-time low because I was in college, doing everything under the sun, having a wonderful time. And really, I also in that time period of having a wonderful time, I was also wasting a lot of time. And that's when things started coming. So, I want to say my junior year in college, I got involved in church, gave my life over to God, and then things started making sense. Then I got mad at myself because I realized I wasted too much time, and I also realized I was in the wrong major. So my undergrad is in elementary education with emphasis on movement science. So I was going to be an elementary school teacher as well as like a gym teacher. So, being able to teach, and that wasn't it, but that was off of Mr. Francis, believe it or not. Mr. Francis was a huge impact in where I focused my attention, because back in high school, as you know, Mr. Francis used to take people in his office, man, and they come out just like so transformed. I'm like, dog, what is he saying to these people? And that always intrigued me. I'm like, he had a gift to work with all populations of people. And to me, he was probably the best counselor there, even though he wasn't a counselor there. He was helping transform people's lives. And I always watched that. I watched that very close. So that was my counseling track. Ministry wise, that again, I wasn't even trying to be in ministry or anything of that nature. It was just me kind of being obedient to a call of what I felt like God was doing in my life. So they all kind of intertwined together, type of thing.
Yeah. You know, one of the things about you, man, is you have this like wonderful spirit. It's like you like everybody. You went from being, because we a little older now, right? So you went from being like everybody's like cousin when we were younger, kind of growing up. It's like you knew everybody, you were friendly with everybody. There's always good energy around you. And now you like everybody uncle, and it's like you've just been a super solid person. You kind of like lead with love. You always smiling, always cracking jokes, and it's infectious, man. It's infectious. You could have definitely done the teaching thing, and been able to impact those young people. But I also know that you work with young people now through your counseling. It's not just adults. Am I right?
It started off with young people. Right now, my preference, and I actually work with adults only 18 and up now. I used to do a lot of stuff with kids, but that's not my specialty, and I'm not as patient as I used to be. So I'm like, nope, kids was kind of forced onto me because, when you first getting involved, you take everybody that's coming your way and all of that. But sooner or later you start to, hone in on your specialty. And like, I do a lot of individual counseling, seeing people with anger management, anxiety, depression, things of that nature, family dynamics, communication. I specialize in marriage counseling, so that's really my go-to. So I'm known here in the city to be doing a lot of work with marriages and stuff like that. So, but I still have a love for the kids, because even though I don't really like counseling them, I still work with them. I did use my undergrad degree a lot for a while. My first few jobs were, I was in a school, long-term sub positions that end up being like I'm teaching for a whole entire school year. Like, I ain't signed up for this, but even when I was doing that, I was really counseling. I really wasn't teaching them nothing, but I was more so, helping them, being a listening ear and stuff like that. So
yeah, no, that's amazing. So you are married, and how many kids do you have?
3 kids.
Woo!
Yeah, man. My wife Artina, and I have twins, Brayton and Leilani. They are 13, and then my youngest Austin, he's 10.
Okay. Talk about, like, fatherhood, man. Like right now, my youngest is 6. He's my little boy, Bryce. Zara, my daughter, is 9. And man, Bryce has been putting me through the ringer like the last week or so. Like he's just been so challenging. And I just been like praying, like, Lord, pray for him, and hopefully I got, I got give me some patience and just trying to get some clarity on this thing. It's like this. Do you feel the pressure still? Your kids are a little older than mine, as far as like the fact that you're shaping you're shaping these people's like lives. Like, does the pressure did it ever get to you? Does it still get to you? Like, how do you go about like the parenting piece and stuff?
I don't look at it as pressure. I really look at a lot of things as opportunity. I have an opportunity to help shape my kids' lives. And, I'm not in charge of their life. I just been granted the opportunity to kind of help guide them as they grow. And really, I come from a strong stock of men, like both on my mom's side and my dad's side. So like I I have a huge advantage, probably the best advantage of anybody, because again, I come from all the Morgan men and all the McNeil men, hands down, all solid, every single one of them. So for me, I always grew up watching my dad, watching my uncles, right? All of my dad's uncles, all my dad brothers, right? My uncles, they were like, they are fathers to me. So I couldn't, if my dad wasn't there, right, I'm in trouble in school because my Uncle Charlie's sitting right there. It's like,
Yeah.
so I couldn't do absolutely nothing. And they coach, right? And
Right.
so when I look at my role as a dad, I look at that of where I came from, but I also look at it as I have an opportunity to pour into my kids. I try to spend a lot of times pouring into my kids, teaching them things that I think that me and their mom will want them to know, and also trying to prepare them for what's to come to the best of my ability. My goal is to empty myself out. So
Yeah.
anything I have, give it to my kids. Like my kids, I can grab them right now and they can pretty much hands down talk about any subject you throw their way. And that's because me and their mom are very intentional. Like I don't shy away from no conversations. We be like scared to say sex about, nah, man, my kids will tell you everything you need to know about sex. I
Yeah.
empty myself out I pour a lot into my kids. So to me, it's not a struggle, it's an opportunity.
Yeah. And I mean, I do feel pressure, and I like the way you worded it. And I think anything that you care about comes with a bit of pressure, right?
No doubt.
And so not a bad pressure, but just there's an awareness there. It's like uh children, in my opinion, kind of, if they're not acting like you and like putting a mirror on you where you're realizing, dang, I guess I do be doing that, right? I always say, my kids got all their good traits they get from their mom, all their bad traits they get from me, right? So if they're not acting like you and sort of reminding you of yourself, what I've been feeling like recently is that they've been in these sort of blind spots for me, where places that I'm just not as strong in, and maybe I didn't realize it.
Mhm.
And I'm trying to equip them with tools that I wasn't necessarily equipped with. And it's been very, very challenging.
What
And
I was going to ask you, is your pressure realistic? Because sometimes the pressure
of
that
course
we,
not. Of course
right,
not. I mean,
right.
yeah, but this past week it's gotten more realistic, because what I realized simply, and I know this is it's big, but it's simple. Regardless of if they play in sports, like um my daughter, she's starting volleyball. We'll see where that goes. Bryce is playing, he's starting to really come take a liking to basketball, which is it's a soft spot for me. and I'm just trying to just support whatever they're doing. Zara's gotten into theater. She was reading me. She wrote a couple chapters of like a book today. Like she like a little like novel that she started, and I was like, wow. So who knows what direction they want to go, and I hope that they exhaust all these options and like scratch every creative itch that they have and anything that they want to sort of pursue. I'm going to try to do my best to support them. But aside from that, my job is to help prepare them emotionally more than anything, Wes, in my opinion, like with the tools to just kind of cope with this crazy world that we living in, man, and just like help them like learn like that they don't have to be perfect, that they can ask questions, that they're gonna, some days you're gonna be disappointed in yourself, some days you're gonna be disappointed in other people. I didn't like being closely, like being able to identify how they're feeling, process that stuff. I put a lot of stuff on the shelf and just kind of, and now I'm kind of forced to deal with it now. And I just want to prepare them better emotionally so that when they see things and recognize things, I'm hoping that they can be a little bit more wise and a little bit more evolved than I was at their age, so that they can cope correctly with just the trials and tribulations that they will undoubtedly have.
Yeah. Most of the times it's us projecting our fears and our insecurities onto our children. And we put that as a starting point or a goal to say my kids won't do this, or my kids will not experience this, and or I want to prevent my kid from doing this. When you really slow down and think about it, you can't prevent anything. Only thing you could do is, to the best of your ability, prepare your kid. But again, it's your preparation or even your pressure realistic? Like, we have to get down to the root to be like, what is it that I'm trying to pour my kid? The reason why I say I empty myself out, my wife empty out herself into pouring our kids, because the best way for a kid to learn is in their home. And so I want to be the first one to introduce my kids to whatever, society has to offer, right? We want to teach them the morals and the values and the respect. We want to teach that stuff at home. And believe it or not, most of the times kids, they learn not necessarily what we say all the time. They're great listeners, don't get me wrong. They're like sponges. They can really take in a whole lot. But kids learn more from what we do. And so while
That's
we're
right.
study trying to instruct, they're watching whether or not you doing what you're instructing them to do. Are you cleaning up the house like you told them to do? Are you on time? When you telling them to iron your shirt, is your shirt iron? And
Yeah.
then you get mad and try to put them on punishment when they call you out on it, right? Like, be quiet, I'm the daddy. Like, no,
Yeah.
they're learning by what you do,
Right.
not necessarily, by what you say. And so that's why we have to slow down and say, what's the source of what I'm using to teach my kid?
Yeah. You're right. I want them to learn as quickly as possible that I'm not perfect. And what I want them to understand is I'm never going to intentionally tell you anything that's going to hurt you, but that doesn't mean that I know everything. And
Mhm.
I'm quick to say, I'm not sure about that. Let's look it up. Or, you know what? That's a really good question. I haven't thought about that. Because I don't want them feeling like, well, Daddy knows everything, so I gotta know everything if I want to kind of keep up with him. Like, let's do some research together. Let's learn together, and I hope that it shows them a side of me that maybe folks our age didn't see from
Mhm.
the men in our life
I think
growing up.
I think you have to, let's have a freeing moment real quick. Let's accept the fact that you're doing the best that you can and you can do better, right? There's no judgment there. That's just a nice assessment. That's DBT, dialectical behavioral therapy. I'm doing the best that I can and I can do better. So it frees yourself from judgment. I was at a funeral once, supporting one of my buddies. His mom passed away unexpectedly, and we had just had our twins, and I had drove down there, sitting in the back of the church, if I'm honest, playing around on my phone because I didn't know nobody there. I just wanted to be respectful to a friend of mine. And Bishop Isaac King got up. The late Bishop Isaac King got up. He was doing a eulogy. And while he was talking, he said, kids need three things. And you could tell it permeated my heart, right? Because as soon as he said kids, I was like, okay, he got my attention. Now I'm listening.
Yeah.
And he was like, kids need love, kids need time, and kids need discipline. And when he said it, I was trying to write it down, but I was like, oh, I will never forget that another day in my life. I was like, kids need time, kids need love, kids need discipline. And the fourth thing that I just added one more. Kids need consistency. And if you assess yourself as a father on those four things, am I giving my kids time? Am I giving them love? Am I giving them discipline? And am I consistent? You don't have to worry about, perfection. Because first of all, what the heck is perfection and who get to define it? Throw that in the trash, right? You give them those four things, your kids will literally be loved and they'll be able to feel it. They'll be able to experience it because those four components will set you up for nothing but success as a father.
Yeah. Wow. I love that. I recently recorded a podcast about accountability being like a love language. And I think it really goes to that discipline and consistency piece where it's like they need to have bars set for them. They need to have expectations set for them, and they need to be consistent. Like, not you could do better, but no, how can you do better? What are we working on? And giving them something to strive for. I feel like and that goes to the timepiece. I mean, right, it's all connected. And then in my opinion, when you have those things, they know that they're being loved because you have expectations of them. Kids don't, as much as they act like they don't want to hear some of that stuff, we act like that too, but we rather hear somebody give us a bar to clear than just like be indifferent. Like, whatever you want to do. Like that ain't that don't feel like love, right?
Right.
I know you can do better. Let's help you do better. Let's help you get to your goals, or let's help you max out. We don't have to be the best, but let's try to be the best that we can be, right? And how can we get the most out of you, your skills and talents? That's love, in my opinion, and it all revolves around the time and discipline, that consistent message. So you may be on to something, brother.
We have to just show up, man. Like, honestly, it's not that hard. We made parenting very difficult, and it's really not that hard. When I say show up, some of the times we do, especially culturally, coming from a Black family, it's, listen to what your parents say, respect your parents, shut up, don't talk back or I knock the front teeth out your mouth, that type of thing. That's the type of parenting we came from. But really showing up as a parent simply means that inviting your kids to learn with you, right? Inviting your kids to struggle with you, right? No, my kids don't need to worry about how much the mortgage payment is, but they do need to understand budgeting and that I'm not giving them everything, right? Certain things they have to work hard for, but they also need to see me struggle. One of the most pivotal moments of my life as a parent, well, I had several of them, but one of them that sticks out was when I was trying to pass my national counseling exam. My kids saw me fail, and they saw me like at a low moment because not only was it embarrassing because I helped other people pass. So I knew the information. That was the like embarrassing part. Like, bro, how the teacher failing? Like that don't make sense. Right. But I didn't pass, but they had to see me take it again. Right. But even them joining in on it, Dad, cut the game off. Come on, we got to study. Like and so when you take on that we mentality, like, hey, we have to study. How are we doing in school? Right. Is the teacher happy to see you? Me and my wife always tease our kids like, did the teacher start crying this morning when they saw you? It's like, or what can we do to make sure? What do you need? So okay, yeah, you want to go school shopping? Well, that stuff is earned. So when we have to show up, it's not just showing up at their event. Oh, they're happy that they see they dad. How much time are you spending with your daughter on YouTube watching, volleyball, how to serve, whatever, or just getting out there, and we're seeing that now. A lot of fathers are getting way more involved, and, they taking ballet lessons and stuff with their daughters and stuff, which is cool, and it's not no attack on our manhood. It's redefining manhood so that when we show up, we're getting rid of all of this pressure, society pressure telling you got to have this amount of money, you got to do all this. Like, long as you operate within those 4 things, man, your kids will be fine and you will be fine, because at the end of the day, you're giving your kid everything they need.
Yeah. And they need to, they'll feel it, but it's important that they know it, right? That they, as much as I get on my kids, I always say, they know I love them. Like, they know it's coming from a good place, and they know that I may be on their head about something they haven't done, but like in the next second I'll be giving them a hug and whatever else, telling them I love them and all that good stuff, and celebrating something that they have done right. I mean, I think that goes to that consistency. That whole keep that same energy, right? We can't just be on their head when they don't do well, but then don't praise them with that same energy when they do what they're supposed to do and accomplish some things.
And flip it, B. I do something. Matter of fact, I'm glad I'm saying this now because I got to put it on the calendar. I do something with my kids where I leave my wife out of this. This is just between me and my kids, and I take them out to eat. They always forever ordering whatever they want on the menu anyway, so that ain't no big deal. But this is a freeing conversation. So they come and they present all these cases. In other words, they are grading me on being their dad. Stuff that they want to bring up. Dad, you said, and in this moment of us kicking it, they can't get on punishment. They have the green light to say whatever they want to say. Because what I taught them is, whatever you saying to me right now, I already know you're not trying to hurt my feelings, but you're trying to tell me something. So no, you cannot get on punishment for saying something. So this moment right now, this is a powerful moment. Go let your dad have it. And I'm sitting there and I'm taking notes. Some of it is hard to hear because I'll be like, oh my God, because they see you in the dare. So it's not always, do this. Sometimes you need to shut up and listen to what your kids have to say. Because you'll learn a lot, and those are probably good positive moments that I have that help me to be a better dad for them.
No, I love that. I was at a workshop. It was like a youth leadership workshop. So Mint Artists Guild, one of the nonprofits I work with, we were awarded a grant through the Skillman Foundation for some art therapy sessions. We're gonna do about, I think, 10 over the course of ending this year and next year, 10 or 12, forgive me. But so we went to this all day sort of workshop and so there was a bunch of youth there, and then a bunch of like youth leaders that were young adults, right? They weren't, old like us, but they were leaders, but they were still maybe 18, 19, 20. So they split us in groups at some point, and they want us to talk about perceptions that we may have of the youth, right? These days, perceptions they may have of us, and then some of the things that and I realized it's true, and they had the same exercise, and it was like, get ready, they're gonna hit some sensitive topics, and we exchanged ideas. I was so impressed with all the young people, and one of the things that I said was, they said, "What's the feedback? What are your thoughts?" And I just said, it made me think about my kids a lot. And I think a lot of what the young people were saying, it wasn't towards us, it was towards their parents, right? There's a disconnect there. And I just said, we as adults have to create safe spaces to receive feedback
Mm-hmm.
from our children, because they have things to say. But just to your point, Wes, what you don't talk to me like that. You being disrespectful. It's like, no, maybe they don't have the skills to articulate the way that they want, or in the way but they feel the way they feel, and we need to make sure that we create safe spaces so that we can receive that feedback. It shouldn't be us just continuing to tell them what they're not doing right, because we not perfect either. And so it was such an eye-opening exercise. And the first thing I thought about was like, man, we got to create these safe spaces. And and maybe it's a meeting on a calendar, or maybe it's a code where it's like, yo, code blue, like, oh, okay. Now we can talk, right? Like, or look, I'm in the middle of something. I ain't ready for code blue, but we can put it on the calendar. We can talk, or whatever that is, where we can come together, because we have so much to learn from one another, man.
Yeah.
We have so much to learn from one another.
They need the freedom. Like, the best thing, like I said, if you be consistent, and the kids, like, they know we love them and all that, but at the same time, I always try to stay in the place of being a student, even as a parent. Yes, I'm their father and then all of that stuff, and my role, I'm not mistaken about my role, but I also know that my kids can teach me a lot of things, right, that I don't know. And I'm older. Old age don't mean you're smarter, because it's a lot of old dumb people, right? That's being judgmental, but it's true. But the truth of the matter is, as long as you have an open heart and an open mind, you can always learn something from kids. Kids can teach you how to stay connected, how to make sure you're loving them properly. How I parent my youngest son, I cannot parent my oldest son like that. I can't. Because if I do it, I will damage my oldest son. Big time. There's a big difference in parenting with those two. My youngest son, if I dare try to parent him as I parent my oldest son, he might smack me like, bro, what is you talking about? Like, because he's cut from a different cloth. And my daughter, she's a mixture, and so I can't just give them, deal with them all the same. They all are unique, and we have to take time to develop that and understand and invest in all of those different wonderful personalities that they have.
Understand kind of what their styles are and how to best communicate with them, for sure. He is Wesley Morgan, the owner and principal therapist at Renew Counseling. He's also the host of the Everything Renew podcast. Wes, this has been so good, man. I really appreciate the time, the advice. I mean, I'm thinking, like, who better to talk to about these frustrations that I'm having right now than besides my friend. I'm also getting a little free therapy, so hopefully I don't get no bill in the mail.
No, man, you're good. You're good.
But no, this was excellent, and really appreciate your thoughts and your insight and your openness as always. You always very candid, and I think that a lot of us can learn to be more open and transparent like yourself. To all the folks that's listening, watching, please continue to engage. If it's something that's beneficial to you, share it. Don't be stingy. Pass along the good word. And I also want to let everyone know that you are all capable. You just need to find your own frequency. And until next time, peace.
Welcome into his brain, welcome into his frequency. Enter at your own risk, come be at peace with me.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you haven't already, please hit the like button, please subscribe, share, and also hit that notification button as well. Thank you so much.
Financial literacy to authentic Black history, this real rap.